Hey everybody, it's your man James, Mr. Quinn Treasures, back again with some more video action for you. Today's another one of my little clipped live stream videos here for you, where I've taken something from an old live stream and clipped it out so you guys can check it out without having to go through a 3-hour stream to check it out. But today's topic is going to be how the people and corporations who own all the franchises that we seem to love, why they have such a gulf between them and the very audience that they're supposed to be catering to, and why they are failing so badly to not just connect with them, but to even do justice to the very franchises they are now in control of, and why the audience keeps rebelling against them over and over again. You know, it's same old song and dance, but I thought it was a kind of an interesting thing, and I did this with using a video by the Critical Drinker. You know, if you haven't checked his stuff out on YouTube, make sure you do. He's probably one of the best social commentators on pop culture that's out there right now. And I just thought it was like a very intriguing bit, both with his commentary and mine. So I hope you guys enjoy checking this out, and hope you get a little something out of it. And I want to thank you all for joining me today, and say that if you like what you hear here, drop down a like so you can help out the algorithms, and also be sure to drop comments too if you got anything you want to say. I'd always like to hear what you folks got to say about these things, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't subscribed so you don't miss any of this great content, and share out some links if you subscribe so that way we can get more people in here, as I'm always trying to build the channel up, and I appreciate all the support you guys can give with that. So again, I thank you all for joining me. I hope you're having a good one, and I hope you enjoy this, and I'll be back with more stuff soon. Until next time, take care. And here we go. And I may take breaks in between this to make points, but I'm going to try to just play as much as possible because the way he explains all this is like just so perfect.
The recent clusterfuck surrounding Masters of the Universe revelation really got me thinking, how many times do you actually have to run over a stripper before they'll die? Wait, what? Anyway, the more I thought about that show, the resulting fan backlash and tidal wave of negative reviews, and the excuses and attacks made by the show's creators, the more I realized that it's just the same fucking pattern that plays out whenever someone decides to remake an old IP. As I observed in a tweet the other day, break this kind of franchise vandalization down into 5 easy steps. Step 1, find a once popular franchise that hasn't seen any activity in a while, but still retains a loyal fan base you can exploit for cash. Step 2, announce that a remake slash reboot slash revival is on the way, and confidently declare that it's for the fans. Step 3, remove most of the key components that made it popular in the first place, and fill the gaps with a mixture of unlikable new characters and a heavy dose of identity politics. Step 4, blame the resulting fan backlash on a small group of toxic trolls and reactionary man-babies, and dismiss negative reviews as an organised campaign orchestrated by the usual collection of ists and phobes. Step 5, confidently declare that all fan bases are unwilling to accept change and growth, then move on to the next franchise and circle back to step 1.
Not a great point.
They say the definition of insanity is repeating the same process over and over again and expecting different results, but that seems to be Hollywood's MO these days. Again and again, studios dig up the corpses of old franchises, go on to debase them in the worst way possible, and then act surprised when longtime fans vocally complain about it. It's a bit like serving someone their favourite meal at their favourite restaurant, except the meal has a big steaming turd on top, and the serving staff are all wearing red and white check gingham dresses with army boots.
I was just doing a little test. Little test to see if you'd gone crazy.
Honestly, it's almost farcical how many times this shit's happened. Ghostbusters, Terminator, Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who, and now Masters of the Universe. The list of franchises that have been destroyed or badly damaged seems to grow longer with every passing year. And I guess the question I keep asking myself is, why? Why do people never learn from this shit? In fact, why even remake stuff in the first place? Well, the last one is probably the easiest to answer, and it neatly explains step 1 of the process. The benefits of reviving an old IP are kind of obvious. There's a built-in audience that's hungry for more content, and that's pretty fucking important now. We're kind of drowning in a sea of entertainment these days. There's so many TV shows, movies, miniseries, and fuck knows what else that people don't know what the hell they're supposed to be watching now. And any original property that does come out is up against so many competitors that its chances of success are about the same as a homeless man getting into a high-end strip club. And believe me, I know all about that. Which brings me along to step 2, remake.
So there it is. He hits on one of the points right there for you. This is why you don't see them creating new characters, for these political ideologue, identity politics stories that they want to do. They're not doing those stories because they know that they're not going to sell, because there's a lot of stuff out there, and people, most people are creatures of habit. They're going to stick with what they know. Yeah, they'll take a chance once in a while, but think about it this way. You put out a book that's a political sermon to people that's insulting, say potentially half your reader base that you could have. Are they going to come back for issue number 2? Of course they won't. And then they'll stick with what they know. Hey, let me continue to buy Spider-Man. Let me continue to buy, Batman. And that's what they'll do. And they're not going to pick up your new book. And then if the work is bad enough, insulting enough to them, they'll never pick up your work ever again. Even if you do something, they say, okay, well, I won't do that book. I'll do this other book over here. They won't even bother with your second new book. Screw you. That's what's going to happen. And this is why. So right here, he's already telling you why these people are destroying the icons, because the icons are what bring in, they have a dedicated fan base. They are the ones that they see as valid, as relevant. And they know that nothing they create is going to have that. Most likely because they know what they're going to create isn't something that audience is going to want to read.
Making or rebooting something that's already well known is a surefire way of attracting desperately needed attention. It becomes your unique selling point, something to help you stand out from the sea of bland, generic shite floating all around you. And in theory, it should be a win-win situation for everyone. Fans of the IP should be happy to see their favourite franchise gloriously brought back to life, revamped, improved, and modernised. It's like being reunited with your high school sweetheart, but instead of the boring, middle-aged marketing consultant with cellulite, stretch marks, and high-functioning alcohol dependency that she's turned into, she's young and beautiful and adventurous again. The studio should be happy too, because not only do they benefit from the work of previous generations and get the chance to bring back something beloved by people all across the world, but they also make a shit ton of money to pay for their drugs and hookers. Everyone should be a winner, but it all depends on one thing: not fucking it up. And this brings us to the most crucial point in the process. See, people tend to be kind of protective of stuff they enjoy, and they naturally get pretty nervous when someone fucks with it. Now, it's easy for bitter, lonely, cynical people who've never loved or cared about anything in their entire lives to write this sort of behaviour off as fan entitlement. I mean, how many trashy articles have you read bemoaning yet another fan backlash to an unpopular remake of an old IP? But the truth is that it's got less to do with entitlement and more to do with basic human psychology. People naturally form attachments to things that they invest a lot of time in, and the more they invest, the greater the attachment, especially with things that made a big impact on them at a young age. Watching Star Wars as an impressionable young kid for the first time is a lot different from watching it as a grown man with a lifetime of other experiences to water down the impact, and as a result, it stays with you. Naturally, fans like this tend to seek out other like-minded people to share their enthusiasm. They form social media groups and fan clubs, they build websites, write fan fiction, buy merchandise, and go to conventions. It all adds up to a strong sense of investment and emotional attachment, and the natural result of attachment is protectiveness. Imagine that I gave your favourite childhood toy to some random stranger with the vague promise that he's going to do something very interesting with it. You're probably going to feel pretty nervous about that, but then imagine how you'd feel if you totally fucked it up.
And there you go. That's the other side of this. When they call you a bigot, when they call you a white supremacist, when they say you're just a hater, these creators, when you tell them that their work sucks, this is what they don't understand. They say this work isn't for you. That's a famous one we've heard many times. This isn't for you, except no, it is. Spider-Man is for me because he was for me before you were working on it. He's not for me now because you're working on it and you don't want it to be for me, because you don't want anything to be for me, because you hate heterosexual white males, and that's the thing. And they understand that the reason we come at them as hard as we do is because we do feel invested. It does, in a way, it does belong to us. We don't own the rights like, Disney or Warner or whoever owns the rights to the actual character. I can't go out and make Spider-Man comics without getting sued into oblivion by Disney. But he still belongs to me because I have invested a lot of time and money and interest and effort into the character. I spent 3.5 decades buying his comics. And before that, I saw him on cartoons and stuff. I went and saw the movies. I remember the first Spider-Man movies in the theaters in the early 2000s. Spider-Man 1 and 2, I saw them both in the theaters twice. The only movies I have ever seen more than once in a theater were Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2 by Sony. That with what's his name? Tobey Maguire. Those are like that. That's how much investment I had in the character. And that's worth something. It means something to me. So when I see him being mistreated, like in that one story, again, I've referenced it in past ones, where he's complaining about, he's worried he's racist because he was beating up an Asian gang in Hong Kong, and he's worried that makes him racist. I know that's not Spider-Man. Just like in One More Day, we'll take one that isn't politically motivated. One More Day, where Spider-Man makes a deal with the devil to get out of his responsibilities. I mean, that goes against the core tenet of the character. His whole motto is, with great power, there must come great responsibility. And here he is dodging it by making a deal with the devil. And so people rightly hate that story. Why? Because it goes against everything Spider-Man is about. We know Spider-Man's no racist. He's not beating up those Asian guys because they're Asian and he's white. He's beating them up because they're criminals committing crimes. And we know this. And that's why we know it's a bunch of bunk and it sucks and it's horrible work just there to push a political narrative. And it's like, no, that doesn't work. And when you call that out, these creators, just like this guy, this is how they react. They can't take it because they don't understand the investment you as the audience have with that creation. It means something to you. It's not just a tool for your narratives. It's not just a stepping stone for a Netflix deal the way it might be for them. No, for you, it means something to you. And so to alter it, to change it, to bend it in ways it was not meant to be bothers you. Because as Critical Drinker here says, it's like someone taking your favorite childhood toy and then doing something and fucking it up. And how are you going to feel? You're going to be pretty damn pissed. And that's where it comes from. But for some reason, for some unknown reason, these creators like Kelly Sue DeMoronic and her ilk don't seem to understand that.
Which brings me neatly along to step 3, the point at which everything goes wrong. There's no easy way of saying this, but a lot of the movies, TV shows, games, and comics that were made by previous generations just wouldn't get made today, mostly because they contain stuff that's now considered problematic. Strong, capable, heroic male protagonists? That doesn't play out too well today. Traditional femininity, beauty, and sexual attractiveness? Forget about it. Minority characters with even a hint of racial insensitivity? That's a big red flag right there. Platonic same-sex friendships? Are you kidding? Storylines that imply women are physically weaker than men or require them to be rescued? No fucking way, sunshine. Basically, there's a lot of unwritten rules about what you can, or more importantly, can't, include in modern storytelling. It's a bit like living in the Soviet Union in the 1950s, where artists were forbidden from producing anything that criticised or contradicted the official state ideology. So it is in modern Hollywood, where there's few quicker ways of ending your career than expressing any thoughts or ideas that go against the message. Now that's all great and everything, but the obvious downside is that it doesn't hold a lot of artistic freedom. It also means that old franchises being remade today have to have every problematic element carefully screened, removed, edited, or censored, and replaced with stuff that's deemed politically acceptable, which usually means destroying or compromising the very things that made them popular in the first place. And what you're ultimately left with is a bland, dull, sanitized, politically correct modern story, shrouded in the veneer of a classic IP. The reaction from the fan base is predictable as it is intense. It's anger. Usually it starts with social media, then quickly moves on to review aggregator websites, and from there to YouTube. Before they know it, the creators of the remake are being swamped with angry negative feedback. And because it's the internet, well, it's usually pretty extreme. And since nobody likes being told that their work is shit, or the negative career repercussions, the predictable reaction from creators is to lash out, insult the fans as ungrateful toxic haters, and dismiss negative reviews as some kind of coordinated campaign. The ultimate result is that everyone ends up pissed off, everyone's fighting with everyone else, and a once popular franchise has become just another online battleground. The fans get to see their cherished IP tarnished by a poorly conceived remake, and the creators lose money by alienating the very people they should be appealing to. And so the cycle repeats itself. Unfortunately.
And there you go. There you go. You know, he's talking about this about movies, but it extends beyond just movies. It's television, it's music, it's comics, it's any form of entertainment. This is what is going on. You know, these people, they lack creativity, they lack respect and reverence for the work. You know, what did I show you before in the past? And again, another clip I showed in the past on another live stream. What I show you? Denny O'Neil's great thing. When you are the editor of the Batman and Superman comics, you are not just a comic book editor. You are the custodian of folklore. And again, I said he's right, but he doesn't go far enough. My version is when you are a comic creator working on any iconic characters, you are not just a comic book creator. You are the custodian of folklore. And that's how you need to approach it. And sadly, these modern creators, these Kelly Sue DeMoronics, they don't approach them that way. And even some who used to approach that way no longer do. I guess they feel freed by the political winds of the day. And so they feel I don't have to be like that anymore. I mean, it's almost like they were wearing a mask before in some cases. They're such assholes, you know, but this is it. And, you know, and that's where we are. They're pissed off. We're pissed off. Everyone's pissed off. You know, no one's making money. The industry is dying. And rather than turn around and go, whoa, 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 let's right this ship, what do? They double down. They double down and just make it worse.
It's also a bit of a self-perpetuating problem. The more times this happens, the more sensitive and defensive fan bases become, and the less receptive they are to the idea of modern remakes at all. So what the hell is the solution here? Well, first of all, there needs to be a cultural shift in how stuff like this is approached. Movie studios are businesses, and like any business, their job is to give their customers what they want. Not what they think they need or what to give them, but what they actually want. So who's the customer here? It's not the perpetually offended serial complainers of Twitter, or the activists posing as journalists, or even young people that have never heard of the franchise before. It's the people that have supported it for years. In other words, it's the fans. Brie Larson might not care what what 40-year-old white dudes have to say, but you probably should, because if you're bringing back some old IP from 20 or 30 years ago, I can pretty much guarantee that they're your target demographic now. So now that you know who your customer is, the next step is to give them what they want. But what exactly do they want? Well, what they don't want is to have their expectations subverted. I'll tell you that for nothing. They don't want to see important characters race and gender swap for no particular reason. They don't want to see their favorite heroes pushed into the background in favor of some flawless, idealized replacement, or deconstructed, or held accountable, or any of the other fancy bullshit terms that people use to justify fucking up something that was already perfectly good. What they want is continuation, not revolution. They want to know that the characters they used to love are still awesome, and the world that they were once invested in is still whole and intact. In short, they want you to respect the fact that you're playing with someone else's creation, and not trying to turn it into something that was never meant to be. Imagine if they...
There you go. There you go. So Brett Booth wants to know, what's the answer? How do we fix this? There it is, Brett. Quit trying to be revolutionaries and instead be the custodians that you actually are. That's the answer. That's the solution. That is what saves everything. But again, I don't think they can do this because, as he said, is these people, they're heavily political. They are political ideologues, and political ideologues almost 99% of the time are also revolutionaries. And revolutionaries don't want continuation. They want to overthrow and remake. And that's what we're seeing happening now. All the old order is being thrown away to make way for the new order. And this is what they do. This is why they have no compunction in attacking the classic audience for comics, because you're part of that old order. You got to go. It's not just straight white boy comics anymore, as Dark Horse Comics told us. You see, this is why they attack that group, because that's the group they see as the old order. And therefore, the old order, it's okay. You can do whatever you want to the old order, or anyone who subscribes to the old order. Again, this goes back to things like, how, the left will tell you we care about minorities, the marginalized peoples and all that jazz. But then let a black person who doesn't agree with them, like Larry Elder or Candace Owens, or in the case of us here in Comic Land, we got our own Eric July, Young Ripper 59 on YouTube. Let them come out and speak against it. All of a sudden, you can attack him the same way you can attack straight white guys. Why? Because he is propagating the old order. He is propagating the status quo that we want to do away with. We as the revolutionaries. He wants continuation. We want revolution. Therefore, it's okay to throw him under the bus as a black man. Even though he's black and we say we care about black, he's not saying what we want. He stands in the way of the revolution. Therefore, he's okay to be gotten rid of. And they will attack you for it. And that's why it doesn't matter what race you are, what gender you are, who you have sex with, or any of that stuff. Even though they say it matters so much. Our representation. Oh, inclusivity. Oh, equity. My diversity. All those buzzword salad they use, they don't mean it. What they really mean is follow the revolution or be destroyed. That is basically what it boils down to. And if you don't follow the revolution, they will do all they can to destroy you. And again, we've seen this happen time and time again. It's happened to their fellow pros, Joe Bennett being one of the most recent examples of that. And it's happening with the reader base.
Remade Back to the Future, except Marty's now a black teenager named Loquacia, and she invents the time machine without Doc's help because she's so mega smart that she doesn't need him, and she uses it to go back to the 1950s to jumpstart the civil rights movement. And yeah, I know there's probably some Hollywood hack frantically scribbling notes right now, but be honest with yourself, much as this satisfies the demands of modern writing, do you really think fans of those movies would want to watch something like that? Or do you think they would see it for what it is? A shallow, cynical attempt to hijack a popular name to push the story that you want to tell. People often use the term fan service like it's some cheap, dirty thing that no self-respecting writer should indulge in, but for the life of me, I've never understood why. As long as it's done in good faith, what the fuck is so bad about giving people what they want once in a while? I mean, as a theoretical purveyor of entertainment, or just a plain old human being, isn't it kind of satisfying just to make people happy? Imagine how thrilled Star Wars fans would have been to see Han, Luke, and Leia on screen together one last time, or a heroic Jean-Luc Picard going out in a blaze of glory, or even fucking He-Man being a brave, powerful hero again. Basically what I'm saying here is that bringing old franchises back to life isn't inherently a bad thing. In fact, if it's done properly and faithfully, then it could be awesome. But that's the crucial point here. It needs to be done right, and that means staying true to the original, even if it doesn't always gel with the message. Either do it properly or don't do it at all. But what you shouldn't do is wear the memory of some beloved old IP like a fucking skin suit to disguise the horrifyingly disfigured story beneath. Believe it or not, people can see right through that stuff, especially the people who know it best. Which brings me on to my final piece of advice. Engage with the fan base for God's sake. Don't just sit there and tell them that you're doing this remake for the fans and then churn out something you know they're going to hate. Take some time to ask them what they want to see and actually listen to their responses. And if they're critical of what you ultimately produce, maybe have the humility to step back and reflect on what they've told you. You'd be amazed how far a bit of mutual respect and open-mindedness can go in building trust between creators and fans. And if you need an example of how this can work, consider what happened to the Sonic movie after that first disastrous trailer. The studio actually took fan feedback on board and delayed the movie by several months so that they could implement it. And well, the results speak for themselves. Anyway, I'm kind of aware that I've been rambling on this one, so my final thought is this. The fans don't have to be your enemy, and it's really not that hard to win them over if you show a little bit of respect and humility and have the courage to produce something they actually want to watch. Do it right and they'll be your greatest asset, defending and promoting your work. Do it wrong and well, the cycle continues. Anyway.
And there it is. But see, the key in what he said is respect and humility. The two things modern comic creators, and I would say modern creators in any entertainment medium today, completely lack. They have no humility and they have no respect. They don't respect what came before them. They don't care. To them, it's either old or it's problematic. And in either case, it needs to go. And as far as humility, well, again, as I've shown you in many streams, there is no humility to be found in these people whatsoever. They are the most egocentric and narcissistic beings to ever walk the face of God's green earth. You know, it's all about them. It's all about what they want. It's all about how they feel. It's all about their politics. It's all about everything is political because we say it is, and nothing else matters. And that's the way it goes. So, you know, Critical Drinker here, I mean, his piece, I think this is probably one of the best videos I've ever seen on the topic that I'm talking about here. Is like how again, this transcends, you know, just Hollywood. This is all entertainment. This is what needs to. So Brett Booth, what can you do? Be humble, be respectful, and produce stuff that the reader base wants to read, not stuff you want to make and tell them they have to accept it. That's the answer. That's the solution. But are you man enough to do it? I don't think you are. I don't think any of you are. Because the few who are, well, guess what? They've already left. They're out there doing crowdfunding like Graham Nolan, like Aaron Lopresti, like, you know, Billy Tucci, you know, John Malin. These are the guys who understand these concepts, and that's why they're out there doing them on their own with their own creations and being successful at it, I may add. And this is why your type will never be successful again, and why your industry is, in fact, dying, and why things aren't getting better, and why they're not going to get better, and because it's all on you.